the thing that I am more interested in, and that is questions about like the talents. Because to me, this is the biggest thing that's happening in WoW. This is the big transformative whoa, because of the sort of end of borrowed power. Because it's a huge shift in philosophy, my opinion, in a positive way. Instead of having to, I don't know, power up your character post max level, we're just going to get talents again. And so now we're going to kind of clarify exactly what is going on. Although I should pull up one of them images because those were useful. There it is. Okay, so I'll keep this guy handy when we refer back to like questions and blah 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 blah. But thanks y'all for coming. I appreciate you dropping by. All right, so there was a community council post that just had a whole bunch of these questions, I think. And I think I can start here. Well, one of their senior devs chimes into this thread and says, "Hello. We have seen a lot of questions about the talent system preview here and in other feedback, and I want to start answering what we can. Note that it's still too early for a lot of specifics, including we can't post complete trees yet for people to peruse, which makes me wonder why even bother talking to us. There's still a lot to discuss about our approach and goals for the system." So someone asks, will they be the old style of talent, 1% gains here and there that put you 5 points into, or is each box only 1 point? Segment says that it's primary, the latter, that it's 1 point. We're still experimenting quite a bit with drafting trees, but currently the majority of nodes are 1 point, with some having 2 or 3. It turns out that the game has a lot more custom abilities and bonuses to potentially award in a tree than it did many years ago. Surprise, surprise. Multi-point passives still exist, although even there, most are more class-specific than simply giving stats. Think of the sorts of passive bonuses that have existed in systems like Conduits, Artifacts, or Azerite. More complex than a plain stat bonus, but simpler than the sort of thing that would currently be a level 50 passive talent or a legendary. 3-point passes can still have important purposes for doing things like balancing different paths. I don't think it was... Maybe it's because I'm reading it out loud, but I'm not quite understanding like what would be a good 3-point passive that isn't just... plus crit or something like that. I guess one thing would be like Avenger Shield will hit 1 additional target, or 2 additional targets, or 3 additional targets. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe. Not sure. What percentage of the tree will be filled out at max level? Roughly, very, very roughly speaking, they say, think something like 2/3. In general, it is fine for people to have quite a lot of stuff, especially considering that the tree contains many different types of kinds of things. Some are comparatively basic abilities and bonuses that many players of a given spec will have. Some are the more advanced, optional bonuses that currently live in systems like legendaries, as well as optional utility of various kinds. That gives us a good sense of like the scope of like how powerful some of these talents are. Basically think greatest hits of World of Warcraft 17 years later. Players need to be able to spend enough points to have some things from all of these categories. Having a class spec that is complete in the way that a current live class is, albeit much more customized. At the same time, enough of the tree has to be left unselected at max level to make the choices between different paths matter, where the points you're leaving out still include some potentially high-value options. Usual design maxim here: if you feel torn because your last point is leaving out something that you'd want, no matter what you do, we've probably done it right. I mean, that's where you saw like 5130 builds or 4130 builds, that sort of thing. And that's what a lot of the times we kind of fell into. Going to the image here, we counted like 30 some odd ticks or clicks that go across this. So I'm guessing that we're going to see almost double of this. So I guess imagine like maybe this part these two columns might be filled. I'm just gonna say columns, whatever. Imagine those being filled, and that kind of gives you an idea of where you'll be. And then keep in mind that the points are independent of each other. It's not like you're, oh, I'm gonna save points here so I can put them into here. Now, we're gonna have, as far as it looks, at least in this implementation, we're gonna have an even number of points that we'll be able to distribute across all of the things. Cool. I want more. I want to know more, though. Look. Someone asks, you mentioned being able to save your builds to your character. It would be pretty awesome for a way to share those in the game between players. So someone could just load in someone else's build and it's filled in for them. I mean, that seemed to be implied. Yeah, like this image doesn't show it, but you can see like it says Resto Loadout 3 over there. Maybe it's hard to see because it's a stream. But then there was another image where you can see like the whole pull down. You saw all sorts of different customizable names for your different builds, and there was also an import and an export button that was introduced there as well. Hi, Meezy. Yeah, so there was something there. So it something like that's hard to see though, because I think they were just kind of going through images, and they would rely on Wowhead and content creators to point that out to people. But I would like to see that. It doesn't sound like. I guess there would be kind of tech involved with having to import and export those sorts of things, like turn it into a link that you can click, or it would just be like a copy paste, and then you would import export. That would probably be the easiest way to do it. It's a little bit janky. You would expect a little bit more from an in-game feature as opposed to like an add-on, but that would be the easiest way to go. And well, they do that with the transmog thing right now, so. Okay, so here we go. We've gathered several questions, mostly from players on Twitter, asking Desvin. Here are our answers to those. When do talents become available? Talent system becomes available at level 10 when you choose your specialization for your class. For the Evoker, because they're starting at a higher level, the talent tree will be made available at some point during their starting experience. How many talent points do you get, and how do you get them? Talent points are obtained by gaining character levels. You gain 1 point every level, alternating between a talent point for your class tree and your spec tree. In the pre-patch at level 60, you will have a total of 51 talent points to spend, with 26 in your class and 25 in your spec tree. When you reach the maximum level of 70, you're going to have 61 total points, with 31 in your class tree and 30 in your spec tree. Okay, so it is like it is going to be like a every other sort of thing. So this image is already just kind of this image kind of suggests a fully leveled character, because I think there was like 30 something points here, 30 something points here. So obviously we can't trust the image. Everything's going to change before this goes into alpha. And then everything's gonna change again before it goes into beta, and then blah. Anyway, but we can count on probably either maybe this tree will be a little bit smaller. This here feels kind of complete. Like you don't have certain things. There's probably certain things here that's, hey, maybe you only have 1 or 2 point. Like this is a 2-point thing. This is a 2-point thing. Maybe that's the maximum number of points. Maybe not. But I think this will offer like some interesting possibilities. Can I get all of the talents in the class and spec tree? Nope. You will not be able to obtain every talent in these trees. Similar to the current system, max level builds will have to make decisions about what to include and exclude. It's like what I was talking about yesterday. We have been without regular talents for almost as long that we've had talents. And even beforehand, things changed a lot over the years. What I think it was like Cataclysm when there was Cataclysm is when there was like a big shift where specializations were first introduced. Kind of, it's like once you start putting points into a thing, then you got like big bonuses, and then you have to go all the way down, sort of, and then you can go into the other thing, the other trees or whatever. I hope you don't have to spend gold to change talents like you did back in the day. You don't, actually. So let me go back to the image. So you can see here, kind of, it says reset all talents. Ta-da! And the way it's going to be treated, it seems like it's going to be treated as if it's like it is today. Like if you're in a rested area, if you're in town, you can fuck around with all this stuff, whatever you like here. There isn't going to be like you gotta go to your Forge of Bond to like fuck around with your conduits. No, that's not a thing anymore. Or that doesn't seem to be the intention here. But if you're on the field, if you're in a raid, tomes are probably still going to be a thing. So that's probably what we will expect here. I mean, they straight up have a button, which is fantastic. And loadouts. I mentioned the other day, man, remember when they had dual specialization and that was such a big deal? Go Blizzard, you guys are rock stars. Now it's just like, oh, we need like multiple loadouts. I want to have like 10 loadouts and shit, because I got my Method Plus, I got my PvP, I got my single target PvP, I got my raid healing, I got this and this and this, and that's great. Because there's so many more ways and so many more kinds of build possibilities in WoW these days, and so many different game modes. So, yeah. See, people love dual specialization. Now it's like dual spec. It's like dual spec. You're giving us fucking 2 builds? Get the fuck out of here. We need it all. Can I spend points on a spec tree that is different from my current spec? Nope. You will not be able to spend points on a spec tree different from your own. If you put points into the Resto Druid tree, then swap to balance, the effects from the Resto tree will no longer apply to you. You will have new points to spend in the balance tree, which I'm slightly mixed on that. I mean, for World of Warcraft, this is fine. This is just how it's been. You know, as you level, you get points, and that's it. You know, you put them whatever you want. It's not like Final Fantasy, where it's like, okay, cool, I leveled up my Resto spec, but now I gotta switch to Guardian, and now I'm starting at level 1 again. No, it's not like that. You get your points, you get your points. How does spending points in the talent tree work? You must obtain talents in the top row of a tree first. Okay, top to bottom. Then after obtaining all ranks, and any talent, you may spend points in subsequent talents in the tree indicated by an arrow. If a talent has multiple arrows leading to it, you may obtain it after fully buying at least one of the prerequisites. Okay, so it's not like there isn't going to be a in order to get this bitch at the bottom, you got to get things both here and here, and then you can activate it. Woo! So you could there's just multiple paths. So it's like here. Think covenants. It's like, hey, you want to get to this juicy morsel down here, make a choice, either get this active ability or get this passive thing, whatever the hell that is, and then you can get this thing, whatever. Okay. Your class tree may grant you 1 or 2 starting talents automatically before you have to start spending points based on what specialization you are. These do not cost any talent points and are free. So I think someone pointed out here. So like as a Resto Druid, hey, look at me. Like these right here don't even have a number next to them. So it's like these are things that you will get for free as Resto. Congratulations. You win at healing. Certain rows don't allow you to progress beyond them until you have spent a certain number of points in talents you have access to. Certain rows don't allow you to progress beyond them. Okay. That feels a little... I get that. I never liked that, but I get it. So it's like, if you want to access this row here, you must have spent 10 points, up here. Then you can access like the rest of the goodness. It's not like, hey, I want to go straight down, boom, 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 boom. Because some people might be like, I want this thing right here because this thing's dope. And I can get, if I go down this path here, then I'll be able to get this ability, whatever the hell this is, at a low level, and then I'll fuck people. I will literally fuck people. So I kind of get that. It'd be cool to. It'd be interesting to feel a little bit liberated by that, but I get why they do it. It offers all sorts of chaos. There's all sorts of like chaotic things that can happen, and that's kind of what we get with having a tree that is so wide like this, with so many paths that they're gonna have to control it somehow. If it was like a really narrow tree, then they would be able to design it in such a way that, okay, maybe you can go, but then you're going to end up going down a certain path anyway, because the tree is like super narrow. So whatever, fuck it. What do these shapes of the talent points mean? Square, okay, so let's see if I got this right. Squares are active abilities, we had that right. Circles are passive effects, that was also right. Octagons are choice modes. Okay, you guys help. I definitely needed your guys' help with this one, so you guys are right. Octagons are choice nodes, where you get to pick one of multiple options in that talent node. This is the biggest thing. This is huge. This is fucking nuts. This here is, in my opinion, this gives the potential of horizontal progression. This is fucking nasty. This is amazing. And you know, going to this example down here, this is the convoke thing, right? This is where, what might we get in this particular choice? Exactly. It's today's talent system of having like multiple choices in a certain thing, all compressed into like one little button. So we can choose convoke, we can choose something else, or something else, or something else. It'd be great if it happened to be all of the Covenant abilities, but we can see that there are multiple things here. So like in this resto thing, and again, just an example, there are multiple choices here, and you can have both of these if you want. There's multiple choices here, here, and here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? No, down here too. 1, 2, 3. Let's count. 4, 5, 6. So in this tree, it's a little hidden here, but in this tree is the old talent system, or the talent system that we have now. It's just that it's 6 instead of 7. 7 rows, but it's there. Now we're not going to get access to all of them because, as you can see here, like these two things don't happen to be lit up, so we happen to only get 5. And then how many do we have choices here too? So there's 1 here, 2, 3. So this is something to keep in mind. Like on the class side, we might have 3 things, and on the resto side, we have 5 things. So we have potentially 8 different kinds of 8 bits that we can customize. From the looks of it, let's presume it looks like these are going to, looks like these. See, that looks like a stun. I'm guessing that's Typhoon. I don't know what that is, and I don't know what the fuck that thing is. That's sorry, Druid fans. But it looks pretty easy to get access to like these 3, if you want to, or we could go all the way down. It's this actually looks kind of weird because like we don't even go all the way down, but oh well. So that's amazing. We're getting talent trees, but we're still getting like this whole hybrid thing of what we have right now, where we're able to like make these sorts of choices. Is it wild charge? Maybe. I'm not sure. What are the diamond-shaped abilities on the sides of the tree? Those are a mechanic that, as of this writing, we're not planning to include. We will give further updates as needed as we continue making changes to the set of features and mechanics in the system. So, let's speculate though. So these felt like they were just given. So if they're just given, why even have them in the talent thing? Why not just make it, hey, you leveled up and then you just get an ability? So that might be a thing. It's not like we're not going to get battle res and we're not going to get stampeding more. It's not like we're going to get some of these abilities. We're going to get them automatically. Why even have them on the talent thing? If it's not a choice, why even include it? But yeah, this just kind of goes to show, don't hold them to this. This is just an example. of what they're trying to do. So, what are those talents with a small arrow on both sides of it? Those are talent selection nodes. I guess the octagon. Those are talent selection nodes where when you hover over that node, it will present multiple options for you to select one of. These choices can either be a new active ability or a passive benefit. Oh. How do talents with multiple ranks work? Talents that have multiple ranks will require additional points to be spent per rank. Okay, so 1 additional point. I thought it was like, you need 2 points to get this rank. That'd be messed up. Currently, we don't have any active abilities with multiple ranks, only passive effects. The value of these passive effects may not linearly scale with points invested. You must purchase all available talent ranks of a multi-rank talent to progress further down the tree from this node. Okay. Will some talents be in more than one specialization talent tree? Where this makes sense, yes. For example, both Feral and Guardian might have the Berserk talent in their talent tree, while Resto and Balance will not. Note, we know that Berserk is not exactly the same for Feral and Guardian, but we want to be clear that talents do not have to be exclusive to be one spec tree or another, because it is in the spec tree and not the class tree. I was about to ask that. I'm like, if there are shared talents between multiple specs, why not just have it in the class thing and make that like a baseline sort of thing? But that's why they mentioned Berserk here. And we're talking about druids, so that's where we're a bit more likely to see that sort of overlap. So, will the class talent tree change at all when changing specs? With very few exceptions, nothing will change in the class tree when changing your specialization. One such exception might be Countershot, which will change to Muzzle if you choose Survival. Okay. They're both the interrupt button, but are themed differently and have different cooldowns. Keeping that distinction is important. Is Countershot a talent? Like today? Because that would be... I'm not too fond of the idea of you got a talent for an interrupt. Ugh, that feels brutal. That feels like a waste of a level, if that's the case. But I know, there are some cases where you got to make sacrifices in order to get that sort of utility. Like warlocks, they need to pull out a different pet if they want an interrupt or something like that. Is the class tree just utility and the spec tree where all the throughput is? No. There can definitely be some throughput increasing talents in the class tree, but the spec tree likely has the majority of them. One of the main purposes of the class tree is to give you a place to explore parts of your class that are not focused on your main role's throughput, such as utility, or abilities that are more closely connected to other specializations, so we limit the pressure to make throughput optimizations in the class tree. Are all talent points new abilities? No. Most of them are existing things from the current or past game, but there are also new active and passive abilities in the new class and spec trees. I mean, there is a lot of WoW history to tap into for this. We got Azerite stuff, we got artifacts, we've got soulbinds, we've got conduits, we've got legendaries, we've got set bonuses. There's a lot of shit for them to choose from. And it's not all gonna fit here. So we're all gonna be pissed about something. Real quick, going back to those octagon thingamajiggers, like I said, like this is their chance, or this is an opportunity to have this sort of horizontal progression where the talent trees don't necessarily have to keep blowing up. There could just be more choices that are added. So like if this was the Convoke thing, maybe after this expansion, something else can be added to that. There might be a 5th thing or 6th thing or something like that. Or they might add something new, and then they'll add like a bunch of different options, and then we can just like mess around with it, and that'd be awesome. What about the abilities you gain when you level up in the new player experience on Exile's Reach? Exile's Reach is remaining unchanged for the most part. You will still obtain many fundamental class abilities from completing the quest and this content. Your interaction with the new talent system will begin after you reach level 10. So basically, trust me, bruh. Cool. What about some abilities that are super important for gameplay, such as interrupt abilities that you don't gain from the starting experience? I need to reread that. What are some abilities that are super important for gameplay, such as interrupt abilities that you don't gain from the starting experience? Okay, I guess I'll read this one. We're currently trying to focus as many combat-altering abilities as possible into the new talent trees. This can include things such as movement abilities, interrupts, dispels, hybrid healing options, defensive abilities, and so on. Our goal is to set up the trees and paths so that there are opportunities to choose between different types of utility, but not to, for example, abandon all utility choices entirely in order to maximize your DPS. If you choose to not have an interrupt, so I guess we are going to choose to not have an interrupt, it is likely because you traded it out for some other type of utility or CC that you believe would be more useful in the situation. The inverse is also true. Specializations that do not have a certain capability in Shadowlands, such as an interrupt, may be able to obtain it by giving up something they currently do have. Huh. Alright. Will there be some sort of talent loadouts or preset trees that we can swap between? Yes, this is an important tool for you to have when dealing with a more advanced talent tree system. You'll be able to save and name many different talent loadouts and swap between them with ease. Presets. I think this question asserts that can I have the game suggest to me what talent to choose? Which I don't think would be like a big deal to have, but I don't think it's necessary either, because it's not like the choice here is going to be like, this is it. You chose to have an interrupt, and now there's no turning back, bitch. Not until you complete a quest, or that's not happening, which is great. Won't people just go to a website and find a build and just use that instead of experimenting with the talent trees? We're sure that this will happen. Good. We're also sure that people will make fun and distinct builds that work for their own style of playing the game. That was always the weirdest take. And it's also correct that people are going to look at a template, they're going to look at icy veins, they're going to do what the YouTuber tells them to do, or else. And people will pressure people to be like, oh, are you a convoke build? No, you're doing it wrong, bitch. Yeah, that's gonna happen. It would happen no matter what. It happens now. Whatever. No big deal. You're right, Lost Ark does do a suggested thing, and I don't listen to that shit at all. I just pump my shit into like a certain ability, and like that was it. So yeah, it would be cool to see a suggested thing. And just like Lost Ark, there was so much freedom with being able to be like, I don't like this, reset, let's do something else. This talent tree looks very complicated and overwhelming to me compared to the current version of talents in Shadowlands. This is a frequent topic of discussion for us. This new system is definitely more complicated, but also allows for significantly more freedom in you choosing what is important to the activities you are doing while playing the game. There is a cost to this new complexity and depth, but we feel that the benefits of the new talent system are strong enough that it's worth the cost here. We're trying to make sure that new players face a more limited number of choices in the early rows so that you don't have to wrap your head around the whole tree until you've spent some time leveling the class. In addition, the easy ability to respec in town means that you don't have to analyze the entire tree in order to make immediate decisions, as you can simply reallocate the points later if you decide you'd rather be on a different path. Something that we as fans absolutely, without question, fail at, and I am definitely part of this crowd, is that we look at the whole thing and we judge based on the whole thing that we see. We don't judge based on the actual practical use, actually sitting down and going through the motions. We see this all the time when we introduce ourselves to the newfangled system. And someone like me will be like, hey, this is Soul with a guide on how to do this thing. And in like 10 minutes, I tell you everything. And that feels really overwhelming. And we judge based on that. And that's the cost of like reading those sorts of guides. But when you actually jump into it, it's like, okay, so I'm doing this one thing and then like that's it. And now I have time to kind of soak in this experience, soak in this information. That's what the game designers do. You know, they actually put in that time to ease people in and help people understand what it is that's going on. Meanwhile, we're like, okay, I already saw the guide on this. Skip. Oh shit, what is all this stuff? You know, and that's a very real possibility. So when we take a look at this, and again, this is just a mock-up, there are like top row abilities, this thing, mostly abilities, this thing, like a lot of these are like, you don't really start getting choices until you get down here. And my guess is that it's going to be like 10 or so, 10, 15 levels at least until you get here. When you start making like, okay, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go now? Maybe I'll try going down this path. Maybe I'll try going down this path. Maybe I'll spread myself out or something like that. And so level by level, we're going to re-experience this. I think for us, for veterans, it's going to feel a bit overwhelming because we're going to have 20 some odd points to immediately play with that before this expansion we didn't have. It's not going to be like how it was with, you know, when we still had talent trees and it was like, okay, we get 10 more points. Let's do it. Sweet. We're going to get like 20 some off, right up 20 some off points per spec and our base class. So it's going to feel overwhelming, no doubt, once we first get our hands on this. But I think that's why it's important. And I think it's a really cool gesture when Ian said that, hey, as soon as we get this thing available, or as soon as we have an idea, we want to put out these talent things and talent calculators like early. So that way people can start fucking around with them and playing with them and giving feedback and talking shit. So that way we can get a little bit more familiar with them. But even then, once the pre-patch hits and we jump into this, we're going to be like, damn. What do we do? I have a feeling that if the hype remains at a decent level, the pre-patch is going to be massive because you're going to have a shitload of people. Well, even like the alpha is going to be huge, the beta is going to be huge because people are going to be sitting down and they're going to be looking at, they're going to log in, they're going to see that everything's changed just like before, but everyone's just going to be sitting around in town and throwing themselves at target dummies or whatever, because they're gonna try and figure all this shit out. Because that's new. Meanwhile, a brand new player, super brand new player, is gonna be like, oh, cool. They're gonna get eased into this system. They're gonna live it. For us, it's we're getting kind of thrust into like, oh, here we go. And so there's a big difference with that experience, and we're gonna have very different feedback based on that. But what I want to at least plant into people's heads is that it is gonna feel overwhelming. It is gonna feel overly complicated because we're advanced players. We're just kind of getting thrown into this stuff. But for newer players, it's gonna be extremely different. How much of my class is going to be in this talent tree compared to other add-ons / extra systems like legendaries, covenants, yada yada yada. Oh, okay. We're trying to put as much class-related stuff as we can into this new talent system as a singular place to manage your character. There will still be some abilities that are granted to players from leveling up, but significantly fewer. We recognize that abilities such as Eyes of the Beast or Astral Recall or Teleport Moonglade aren't combat-altering choices that you're making, and you would be hard-pressed to spend a talent point to obtain this ability again. Those abilities are not going away. They're not going into the talent tree. They will just be a bonus spell you get while leveling up. Other than that, we're trying to put as many combat-related abilities in the tree as we can, which does mean you are going to have to invest talent points into the system to get your current abilities back. I guess that makes enough sense. I mean, that's what I was talking about with these diamond things and how they said that's not going to be a thing. That's where the Eyes of the Beast is going to go, or that's where these abilities go. You'll just get them. So I don't think that's going to be a big deal. With the above statement that we have to spend talent points to get our current abilities back, does that mean there is nothing new? No, they say. There will be some new abilities to Dragonflight, as well as returning artifact traits, set bonuses, legendary effects, and etc. The new system also opens up some opportunities for you to get some abilities that were otherwise locked behind a spec choice, or to possibly have combinations that were impossible in Shadowlands, such as multiple talents from the same row at the same time. So think Torghast, basically. It's going to be like Torghast, yeah. Does this mean I can get talents from any spec on my class with this new system? No. There will still be plenty of things in the spec-specific talent trees. Guardian Druids will see plenty of tanking-related things in their spec tree that a Resto Druid cannot obtain, and vice versa. A Resto Druid can invest more points in the bear-related abilities on the class talent tree for more defensive options, just as much as a Guardian Druid can invest points into more healing options from the class tree. The new spec talent trees will be heavily focused on your combat role of healer, tank, or DPS. Alright. If a Shadowlands Covenant or Legendary ability is in the talent tree, and I also have that Covenant ability or Legendary equipped, what happens? The plan currently is that these nodes will still exist in the talent tree, and you can obtain them, but your Shadowlands Covenant or Legendary ability will override it. You won't have multiple versions of the same spell to cast, or double-stacked legendary effects, or anything of the sort. Not every Shadowlands Covenant ability, legendary Soulbind, or Conduit effect will be staying in the talent tree. RIP Fan of Shields. God, please keep Fan of Shields. How does Respeccing work? This is a very extensive fact. I appreciate this. Thanks, Blizzard. How does Respeccing work? Respeccing should work relatively similar to how it currently does in Shadowlands, with you being able to swap talent builds around. As far as removing a few nodes and spending them elsewhere, we're still working on that flow, but want to make it as simple and easy as we can. Okay. You know, I kind of get that. It's like we wiped. We're doing some encounter, we wipe, and someone's like, hey, can someone pass me a tome? Yeah, sure. And then I pass him a tome, and I think to myself, I'm gonna wait like 10 minutes while this motherfucker decides his build. You should have templated this stuff before. And then it's like, oh, I'm just trying something new. I think we can expect some of that friction. Dude, hurry up and choose your damn talents, bitch. Why didn't you say, did you save your loadout? Oh, Soul, I'm sorry, man. I forgot to save it. You son of a bitch. That'll be funny, and it's funny now. But in practice, I'm going to be like fucking infuriated over it. As a tank, I almost never use tomes because my talents are 99%. I change my shit all the time. I keep swapping legendaries and all that stuff easily. What about PvP talents? PvP talents will continue to work the way they do now. There will be PvP talent choice nodes in the new talent UI frame where you can choose extra effects while in PvP situations. I mean, that's, you know, it looks like they just kind of plopped it there. It's like, dude, what do we do with PvP? I don't know, just fucking put it somewhere. Boop. Solid. But I'm sure, you know, this will probably be cleaned up. It's like, here's a random, hey, look, war mode. What about the API for talents? This is a great question that I'm sure our UI team will work out. Okay, so there's, you know, so it'll support an API. Well, my class, will I be getting something? There's a lot of work to be done. We just need to be careful about how much stuff we're adding to these trees. If we just put all 21 talents from Shadowlands into the tree, that's a huge amount of extra stuff your character can get. I don't want the talents from Shadowlands. I want Fan of Shields. Player. This is a good read, though. I think this answers like just about all the questions that I would have about these. How do you swap them? What do the things mean? Can we select stuff? I guess the one thing to ask that we would probably get a non-answer to is, hey, when it comes to these octagon things, is this like a sign of possible horizontal progression where if you guys feel like adding new passives, new things, can you just add them here, without necessarily having to expand on the tree. Is that something that's on the table? And they'll probably be like, oh yeah, something that we think about. It's being discussed among the team, blah blah blah. So non-answer, but still good shit.